Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our host, Kennedy Center Artistic Director for Jazz, Jason Moran.
Good evening. Well, let's do it again because this feels so good. Good evening. All right, beautiful. First, I just want to say, let's give it up once again for Sherrie, Maricle, and the Diva Jazz Orchestra. Welcome to the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts here in Washington, D.C. And we're here for the 2017 National Endowment for the Arts Jazz Masters Tribute Concert. Tonight, at the beginning of Jazz Appreciation Month, we celebrate 5 individuals who contribute uniquely to the music, each of them an important voice for the community that shapes our music and our world, and each deserving of the highest honor that this nation bestows upon jazz leaders, the title of a jazz master. Ira Gitler, the jazz historian and journalist and record producer that first fell for jazz while he was in high school. This set him on a path for a lifetime of collecting stories and sharing them with his insightful words. Dick Hyman, a musician whose love of early jazz piano blossomed into an incredibly wide-ranging career. His style full of precision and dexterity, and he is the classic performer and composer, always ready for the next adventure. Dave Holland, an early lover of rock and roll, whose prowess on the bass steered the music and the instrument from its traditional road to a new highway, fused with the freedom of New Orleans, funk, and the avant-garde. Dr. Lonnie Smith, a man whose mastery of the Hammond B3 organ is so profound that his signature sound defines its very essence. A man whose music is so funky that it is sure to make your body shake. You know that song, make your body shake your body. Anyway, and finally, Dee Bridgewater. An artist whose divine voice and confident style has thrilled audiences and venues across the globe. Her voice reaches out and grabs you, making us all aware about the vibrancy of our life. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 2017 class of the NEA Jazz Masters. You can all stand up. You can all stand up and give it up to these beautiful people. To start off this special evening, please welcome the chairwoman of the National Endowment for the Arts, Jane Chu.
Thank you. Thank you so much and good evening. On behalf of the National Endowment for the Arts, welcome to this evening's tribute concert. Absolutely. 2017 is a really big year in the life of the history of the NEA Jazz Masters Fellowships because 2017 marks our 35th anniversary year of annually honoring the remarkable accomplishments of a special group of jazz leaders. 35 years ago, in 1982, our first class of jazz masters included none other than trumpeter Dizzy Gillespie, whose centenary of birth we mark in 2017. And also, 2017 marks another important centenary, that of the first vocalist and the first woman to be named an NEA Jazz Master in 1985, the one and only Ella Fitzgerald. She was born in April 1917, and we'll hear a bit of Ella's music later in the evening, so stay tuned. We're pleased to be able to celebrate our 35th birthday here in Washington, D.C., and for our second year here at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. So I want to thank President Deborah Rutter, Artistic Director for Jazz, Jason Moran, and all our friends at the Kennedy Center for collaborating with us to produce this evening's special event. And I want to welcome all of you who are joining us this evening via Sirius XM satellite radio, via live stream. You can connect to the live stream on the NEA's website at arts.gov and also on the websites of the Kennedy Center and NPR. And if you want to join the conversation online, you can follow us this evening on several Twitter handles, at NEA Arts, or at KenSen, or at NPR Music, or by using the hashtag NEA Jazz 17. So each year, the NEA recognizes one of the Jazz Masters with the A.B. Spellman NEA Jazz Masters Award for Jazz Advocacy. And the Jazz Advocacy Award is named after A.B. Spellman, a jazz writer, accomplished poet, former deputy chair of the National Endowment for the Arts, and we're so pleased that Mr. Spellman is here in the audience with us this evening. A.B. Spellman, where are you? Okay, so now to get things started with our first segment this evening, please welcome jazz and film critic Gary Giddins.
Thank you. I'm so honored to present the 2017 NEA A.B. Spellman Jazz Master for Jazz Advocacy Award. You may ask, what is a jazz advocate? And not to get too political, a jazz advocate is someone who asks not what jazz can do for you, but what you can do for jazz. And most of us who consider ourselves advocates or enthusiasts or writers are people who don't play, or if they do play, as Ira Gitler does, they don't play well enough to make a difference, so they find other ways. Now, Ira is a major critic, an inspiration to generations of us, certainly to me. He is a historian who wrote two indispensable works on the development of and the glories of modern jazz. He is an encyclopedist. He has been a producer of live concerts and of recordings. He has written hundreds, if not thousands, of liner notes, some of which are so efficient and witty and indicative of the times in which they were written that they've become a part of the albums on which they originally appeared. Whenever those albums are reissued, they've got the classic cover art and the Ira Gitler notes. He is a wit. His friends know him for his puns, for his strange juxtapositions, metaphorically. He is an extraordinarily generous man. He's to other writers. But I think most of all, Ira's a witness. For 65 years, without a newspaper byline, he has found places to write and to document and to chronicle jazz since the war, certainly since the early and middle 1950s. It's not a way to become particularly celebrated in the literary world, and certainly not wealthy, but he's devoted his life to it. And when you read an Ira Gitler review, you can agree or disagree, that's immaterial, but you know it's sincere, it's smart, it's deft, and it's always discerning. Ira is not here this evening. He's recuperating from an illness in New York, but he's represented by his son, Fitz Gitler, and his wife, the wonderful artist, Mary Jo Schwalbach. In a few minutes, you will be hearing the great jazz master, the incomparable Lee Konitz, playing in tribute to his old friend. But first, we're going to see a short film about the 2017 A.B. Spellman Jazz Master for Jazz Advocacy, in which we highly resolve not to get political, that jazz advocacy of the hip, by the hip, for the hip, shall not perish from this earth. Thank you.
My father has certainly fallen into the category of jazz critic, a historian, an educator. Here we're calling him an advocate. which I like, and I think, he appreciates also.
First of all, he knew what he was talking about. He is a serious student of the music and had done a lot of work with musicians.
My father started listening to jazz because of his brother, Monroe, who was a little more than 12 years older than him.
He was like a second father in a way. He used to take me out with his friends, and I found that this interest he had, touched me. I didn't have to think twice about it. So it got me in my soul.
Today we might think of jazz clubs and bars and places children didn't go, but as a high school student, you could go to a lot of these clubs on 52nd Street.
I heard this guy playing the trumpet who was announced as Dizzy Gillespie, and I said, God, it sounds like he's playing some wrong notes, but he's interesting. There's something about him that was intriguing. He just was electric, these cascades of notes and the high register work, just knocked me out. And the first piece of writing that I ever did on jazz that was published was in my high school newspaper about Dizzy Gillespie at the Spotlight Club.
In 1951, my father wrote the first liner notes that Prestige published. After that, he was the liner note writer for Prestige. He's written somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 liner notes over the years.
The writer who writes about the music for long periods of time, who cares about the history of it, when they review a concert or a record or write liner notes, their job is to really figure out the things that the musician probably didn't put into words yet. So, say for Ira Gitler, so of course he writes these, wonderful liner notes and really has these relationships with these musicians.
I've always thought writers about art in general are better when they know artists, when they are in dialogue with artists as a matter of habit.
Ira brought first-hand knowledge of music, which meant hanging out, getting to know the musicians, getting to understand how they related to each other. Ira was one of the spokespeople for bebop. He was very early into that.
He said that Bird was one half of his heartbeat and Dizzy Gillespie was the other.
They hit me like a revelation. I became really a fanatic about them. I tried to convert everyone I met. You got to listen to this.
It was radical music bebop, and it was intended to be. And Ira wrote really quite accurately about what bebop's intentions were.
So Ira was responsible for really trying to say, okay, well, let's just not overlook this. And that is a major shift in the trajectory of jazz. It's a major shift because it's an attitude shift too.
The history of the music wasn't something he felt was in a book, but it was something he had experienced.
Those of us who do what Ira does, we serve the music and we try to serve it well, and Ira always has served it very well indeed.
When everything you read about Ira Gitler recounts how he talked about how he fell in love with this music, had immense curiosity about it, tracked it everywhere he went, did everything he could to involve himself in the music.
Ira is a person who tirelessly wanted to capture what the musicians were going through.
It really affected him. It would make him laugh. It would make him cry. He lived and breathed it.
And I really think a lot of people have not cared about jazz, but when people really care, they care obsessively in the most grand, beautiful ways. And that's necessary at every stage, And so it's thankful that a person like him kind of grabbed the stories from the musicians.
A good jazz critic brings, first of all, an excellent ear. Second place, great knowledge. Third place, humility. And in the fourth place, good writing skills. And Ira had them all.
And 2009 NEA Jazz Master Lee Konitz.
da dee da dee da 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 dee 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 da da do da do 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 dee dee do da 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 do dee do dee do da 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 do da ee ya do 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 da do da do da do da da do la do da da do dee do da do da do ee do da ee da do da ee. do 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 e lo do 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 e lo do e do do e do do e lo 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 dio lo do do io. You ever see so many women playing jazz?
Ladies and gentlemen, Fitz Gitler.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I want to express my family's deep appreciation to the NEA and the Kennedy Center. Everyone involved in honoring a man who spent his life doing what he loved. It's unfortunate my father can't be here tonight to tell you his stories from 80 years following jazz. Like hitchhiking to see Woody Herman in St. Louis in 1947. In the studio with Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, Sonny Rollins, Charlie Parker. On the band bus with Dizzy Gillespie and Carmen McRae in a typhoon in Japan. So I feel at home here tonight, surrounded by our extended family, the great community of jazz, people who share a passion for this art form. I grew up watching him on stages just like this one, presenting the concerts that he produced. He didn't just introduce the music, he would bring the history and the stories to the audience. He went to every jazz club and concert he could, from his teens until his 80s. Imagine being at the 5 spot in New York 3 times a week to see Monk with John Coltrane. Even as a teen, he would approach his idols. Dizzy, Bird, many more. This was the late 40s. He was already talking to the musicians any chance he got. I used to go to the clubs with him. That was his office. Take your son to work day. Sitting in clubs like Smalls and the Vanguard, Birdland and the Blue Note. The band would start playing. He would tilt his head a little bit and then scribble in his pad. He knew the songs they were playing. He knew who wrote the songs. He knew who really wrote the songs. He knew the recordings, and he knew all about these records because he maybe even wrote the liner notes that he was going to see the band to play. We would always stay until the end, after the set, so he could ask a question, meet somebody for the first time, or sometimes it wasn't even about music. Lou Donaldson and Herbie Mann would begin conversations by teasing him about the New York Rangers before they'd even say hello to him. So these were relationships that he formed over decades with the musicians. It was about humor and love and understanding that they shared. He once wrote, "More writers should get on the band bus and travel with the musicians as I have to gain an appreciation of what they have to face off the stage before they even get up to perform." He had that appreciation for the music, and my family and I have that appreciation for this great honor bestowed on him. Thank you.
And now, jazz pianist Bill Charlap.
Thank you very much. I am honored to talk about an American icon, a giant of this music, the great Dick Hyman. Dick Hyman's original voice in the music, his profoundly beautiful melodic line, sound, touch, sense of drama, expansive imagination, is informed by a deep understanding of the entire spectrum of this music throughout its history and into his own personal vision and imagination that's always there in everything he plays, writes, arranges. I've known him for a very long time, and almost every time we speak, He'll tell me about something new that he's discovering musically, another artist that is inspiring to him, a musical point of view, and what comes through to me, besides what a giant he is as a musician, and the awe that other pianists feel for him, is his humanity and his complete lack of arrogance. There's nothing in his perspective that is not humble to the music. And I think there was something that he said last night, actually, at the Physical Award, when the NEA Jazz Masters of 2017 received their physical trophies and made some remarks. There was something that he said that I thought was emblematic of Dick Hyman, the man and the musician, and it was the choice of one word. He talked about the fact that in our music, it's all about community. It's about walking together. It's about being ourselves. And he said that he was very proud to be part of the, and this is the word, the procession. And I thought, what a beautiful word. It speaks of his intelligence and his humility. And as far as I'm concerned, Dick is always at the forefront of the procession as we continue to bring the music forward and celebrate all the diversity that is the human race. So congratulations, Dick Hyman, for being recognized as an NEA Jazz Master. I must say, I've heard recordings of Dick playing when he was 23 years old, and he was already an NEA Jazz Master. He's 90 now, and he plays with the same technical verve, and his imagination has just grown and grown. Here is a short film that the NEA put together that lets Dick speak in his own words and illuminates how expansive his illustrious career has been and continues to be. Thank you.
I was born in New York City. I grew up in Mount Vernon. My uncle, Anton Rovinsky, was a concert pianist, settled into teaching as he grew older, and I was one of his pupils. The other most influential, and maybe more influential, was my big brother, Arthur, who collected a good many of these old recordings and instilled in me a knowledge and a fondness for early jazz. Recordings of Bix Beiderbecke. That and Benny Goodman, the swing, was my first introduction to the music. I learned how to play by listening to those records and by being guided first by my brother, then other musicians I was fortunate enough to play with as a kid, and by experience. I went to Columbia, and it was a very easy transition from being a college student in New York to being a working musician. When I was in college, a local radio station decided to have a jazz piano contest. I went down and I won the thing. The prize for that contest was 12 lessons with Teddy Wilson. He was very influential. I asked him why it was that I was playing fairly well on some days. On the next day, I might be playing very poorly. He said, "That's why you practice," which was a life lesson I've never forgotten. When I was all of 23, I went on a European tour with the Benny Goodman Sextet. This was 1950. It was a wonderful experience on my part and introduced me to a great many things that I hadn't ever taken part in before. But at the same time, what was happening in New York was that the record business was beginning to boom. There were all sorts of freelance recording opportunities, and I began to record under my own name too, solo piano things or things with little bands. And along with that, each of the networks in New York had a staff orchestra, CBS, ABC, and NBC, where I joined and stayed for 5 years. At NBC, it fell to me to learn Hammond organ. They had me doing game shows and soap operas. After I did my 5 years at NBC and went out totally freelance again, I did sign on with Arthur Godfrey as his music director, arranger, and whatnot. My activities were really beginning to split. On the one hand, there was the jazz gigs and jazz recordings. On the other hand, studio work, which could be almost anything. I relished the peculiar difference of things that I might get to do in one day, from playing soap opera or game show organ to doing a jazz recording. I liked the contrast. In the late 60s, I got interested in playing the Moog, the record company I was with at that time. They knew that I could tackle a whole new world of synthesized music. And then I got into movie scoring as another thing you did in recording studios. I did several films before I began to work for Woody Allen. The composer can bring some points of view that the director might not have thought of. You must have a meeting of the minds and a confidence in each other's approach. A solo recital, it's all up to you. You do have to have some kind of a sympathetic relationship with the audience, and I've learned enough to have that. The other stuff is frequently interesting and fun, and gives you a sense of achievement, but it starts really, and apparently it ends that way too, with being a solo pianist.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Bill Charlap and Aaron Diehl.
Thank you all so much. I am just out of my mind with gratitude to the NEA for having me as part of the lineup this year. It's been a very auspicious series of events through the years, and I'm really honored to be part of this one. And I have to thank Bill Charlap and Ira Diehl for playing my pieces beyond what I would ever have thought of doing. It really is, as I have said, an honor to be here, and I don't want to be too fancy, but I have been having some serious thoughts about our music, jazz, from an abstract point of view. This is the kind of occasion when we might ask academically, why is jazz important for us and for all Americans? Doesn't that sound like a classroom? And for that matter, let's not limit this music to America and Americans anymore. It is worldwide. And the players don't have to be Americans. Why? Well, first of all, this music brings us together beyond anything I've ever known. I mean, just look around the hall. As Lewis sang, "What a Wonderful World." And beyond the fascination of the music as performance, jazz is a social thing as well. We are all involved because we love the music and the process, and in loving it, we love each other. As I see it, the music has been historically a gift from Black Americans to the rest of us. The rest of us picked up on it. The rest of us picked up on it a bit later, and we are all still learning. The music has changed some in the process, and it is fascinating to have seen that happen in a relatively short time and to watch it continue to happen as it evolves, even now, thanks to radio and recordings, the internet, and above all, to the popular song catalog from Tin Pan Alley, from the movies, from Broadway shows, from dance music of all kinds. We found that all of this repertoire could be combined with the hip, improvised technique of jazz players, and that's what we do now. It's not a light matter that the program opened. Lee Konitz played All the Things You Are, and then I Can't Get Started With You. What we have now is a mixture of source materials, a very American and a very modern way of looking at things. And that the music has been fundamentally more or less improvised is also a very American attitude, it seems to me. A let me figure this out and see how you like it attitude. And if you want to fix something, let's work it out attitude. And it goes with the best impulses we have to appreciate each other at the moment, to support each other, to delight in each other's inspirations, each other's differences, each other's combinations of materials, and each other's grooves. It seems to me that to improvise together is American because it announces that what you have going is the most remarkable, the most ingenious or charming thing you can say at a given moment. But on the other hand, who knows what might happen in the next chorus when you combine what you're doing with someone else, and who knows what marvelous thing might occur when your inspiration is supported by his or her performance, and the two or three of you then go on to create something never imagined before. There have been a lot of these moments captured on old phonograph records. And some of us have been especially interested in recreating those moments from those old classic recordings, in collecting them, in putting them in new context, in new instrumentations, in new aspects of performance, in building on them. After all, that's how J.S. Bach
and a lot of other people worked. Remember, Bach needed to take a lot of time just to write things down that occurred to him, so we would know what he was thinking about. We too write things down. We build on them, we collect them, we create new works from those collections, always inspiring new improvisations and new points of view. And all of this is so American and so democratic. Last year I played some concerts with Wynton Marsalis at the and the Lincoln Center Orchestra. I was amazed at how things were run by Wynton. You know, ordinarily in a big band, one man stands in front and tells everybody else what to do. Wynton doesn't do that at all. He is in charge, clearly, but he sits in the trumpet section playing the fourth part, the fourth trumpet. He's not on the podium, but he stands up and plays magnificent solos in the highest registers when he is called on. But he does not stand on the podium. Sometimes he'll get everybody to try a part of an arrangement, to rehearse it all together, but more often it seemed to me, more time was spent with each section working on its own to iron out any wrinkles of interpretation or funny notes. As I looked on, the sax section would change its seating pattern according to whether a soloist individually thought he needed to sit closer to the rhythm section, or according to who had the predominant lead, alto sax, clarinet, flute, a combination of those things. As the arranger of the piece that I was performing with him, I would sometimes sing out the phrasing, the interpretation of my arrangement. Just sing it out and everybody would catch on. And the section involved, the saxes or the brass, etc., would consider my vocal interpretation, then try it together. The whole band would get involved. We'd run it over from the top. Wynton was the authority, but forever deferring to the particular needs of a soloist or of a section. It's very cooperative, very American, very let's all do this together, allowing for individual needs in the context of the general goal and in pursuit of a united goal, a united, convincing performance based on individual inspirations captured like a butterfly by the composer or the arranger or the soloist. I think that's called jazz. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage 2010 NEA Jazz Master, Kenny Barron.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It is my distinct honor to introduce to you Mr. Dave Holland. I met Dave, I guess sometime in the 70s, maybe later, and I had a recording session for Inja Records, and the owner of the label specifically asked for Dave Holland, and Daniel Humer was a Swiss drummer, and I had never met either one of them, so we met in the studio, so there was no rehearsals or anything. And I had some music, Dave had some music, and we just played. And I knew right then and there, he was a master from that moment on. We had some chances to play some more with the baritone saxophonist who passed away, Nick Brignola, both as a sideman. But one of the things I really love about Dave and his playing, first of all, he's fearless. When he improvises, he goes for it. you know? I mean, he just goes for it, you know? That's a lesson I'm still trying to learn, to just go for it. You know, whatever happens, happens, you know? So, and also, in addition to that, it's great intonation. I mean, it's just perfect intonation. And I don't know how many of you were at the dinner last night, but I mentioned that Dave also plays bass, B-A-S-E, you know? And that's something, as a pianist, that's certainly something that I look for and I hunger for sometimes if I'm not with the right bass player, you know? Because I need to hear the bottom. And as a piano player, that's something I need, you know? And he definitely provides that, you know? And one of the other things I love about Dave is that he talks a lot about collaboration, you know, and I don't know if you've ever checked out his website and see how many different bands he's been involved in as a band leader, how many different bands he's had. And I remember doing a tour, we were in Europe, and he was telling me about a project he had done with a group of gypsy guitarists. It was something he sought out, and I guess he heard them, and he decided he wanted to actually record with them. So he set it up, went to Spain, I think it was Barcelona or Madrid, I'm not sure which. And one of the things he found challenging was that they did not read or write music. So he had to learn all the music by rote. That's really challenging. Because you're not talking about somebody playing Mary Had a Little Lamb. You know, the melodies were complicated, and there's a lot of interweaving and stuff, and a lot of different rhythms. The rhythms are complicated. He managed to do that, you know, and that's how much he loves the music, and he's into working with other people, different people from different cultures. And what if we try this? What if we try that? Let's see what would happen. You know, and most of the time, no, it's 10/10 of the time. Something beautiful happens, you know. And again, that's something I'm still trying to learn, how to work with different people, you know. And he's just an amazing bassist. And also he's something, I hate to be corny, he's a hell of a nice guy, you know. And that's very, for me anyway, that's very, very important. When you travel with someone, that's when you really know what they like. You know, when you're on the road with them. I never saw Dave get flustered or angry about anything. And he's traveling with his bass. Most bass players today don't travel with their bass because it's just a big hassle, you know, and the costs, overweight, and he never got flustered. You know, he's always very, very nice and sweet. I've seen bass players hit the ceiling. When they go, this is going to cost you $100. You know, it's fine. It's fine. You know, okay. You know, and 9 times out of 10, they say, oh, it's okay. Go ahead. You know, but working with him has been a real pleasure. And again, he's such as I mentioned, he's fearless when he solos, but also he's very melodic. And he tells a lot of stories. And sometimes while he's playing, I'm doing this. Okay. I'm taking notes, you know. But he has all these little stories he tells inside his solos, you know, from beginning to end, you know, with punctuation and all of that, you know. So he's just an amazing, amazing player. And I've had such a great time working with him. And I hope it continues, Dave. So, and I think we're going to see a short film right now. And also I'd like to mention that as a guest, playing bass with Dave's band will be Mr. James Genus.
My uncle had various hobbies. One of them was to play the ukulele. I was 4 or 5 years old. I'd spent hours playing this instrument, and that was the beginning of it. And then, you know, rock and roll happened, and the influx of American music into England. So by 1956, I wanted a guitar for my 10th birthday. I went to the record store and found 2 Leroy Vinegar records. I got an upright bass within about 2 weeks of hearing those records. And I started to go to some jazz clubs, locally and listen to local musicians. Then by the time I was 15, I decided I was going to leave school and be a musician. My first job as an acoustic bass player was in a resort town of Scarborough. That was followed by a tour with Johnny Ray, who was an American singer. And I got asked to go on tour with him for 3 weeks with a big band from London. I moved to London and worked there for a year. I started doing some gigs in these sort of early New Orleans style bands and playing King Oliver music and Louis Armstrong and playing in pubs. The Ronnie Scott Club was there. I started meeting young players that were my own generation, and we were interested in, of course, in all the new music, Ornette Coleman's music and John Coltrane and Miles Davis, Cecil Taylor, Albert Ayler. Between 65 and 68, I'm so grateful for the kind of education that I got from the community in London. In 1968, I was invited to play with Miles Davis's band. I was 21, and I played with Miles for 2 years. Miles had directions that he was looking to move in, but he looked very much to the musicians to fill in those spaces. It was another level of concentration, another level of immersion in the music. I think this is one of the things that was so amazing about his music, that it was always in movement. We were also using electric piano and the electric bass. The last 3 months of touring with Miles, I didn't take the acoustic bass on the road with me at all. I started to feel that I was moving away from what I was really wanting to be able to do or play the instrument I really wanted to play. I'd started on a project with Chick Corea and Barry Altshaw. We'd been playing as a trio, and we met up with Anthony Braxton. So we went from playing 500,000 people at the Isle of Wight to about 30 people in a little club in San Francisco, you know. I worked with several other ensembles until about 76, and then from 76 to 80, I decided only to work with Sam Rivers. I literally didn't take any gigs with anybody else. We could play very freely, abstractly at times. When you start a band, you never know where it's going to go. I didn't know what would happen with that group, if it was going to be together 6 months or it'd be one record. I decided that I was going to make the prime directive that things had to be fun. It was just the right combination of people at the right time. Prime directive ended up being together for 12 or 13 years. This is not something you do in isolation, this music. It's something that's a shared event. Ideas are shared, experiences shared, and then it's passed on to other generations. And that's a very, very important thing. People from diverse backgrounds, diverse cultures can come together and find common ground and create something beautiful and something meaningful. But I think the magic for me has always been that element of dialogue and communication in the music.
Please welcome Chris Potter, James Genus, Nate Smith, Steve Nelson, and Robin Eubanks. Ladies and gentlemen, 2017 NEA Jazz Master Dave Holland.
I don't even feel like talking now. I just wanted to play some more. They're part of my family, those guys. We spent so many years together making music, and we still do. You know, music, we don't make this in a vacuum. This is something we share with each other, and it doesn't matter what you put on the paper, it takes people like that to make it come to life. And well, it's a little overwhelming. It's amazing to be here in this incredible place at this moment in my life and share this honor with such a great, distinguished group of people. I had no idea, you know, when I first started playing music when I was 5 years old, learning 3 chords on a ukulele. It was G and C and D7. You know, that would bring me here. It's the journey that it takes you on, music. And it's not just the music, it's all the life lessons you learn along the way, you know. The lessons you learn from, of course, traveling and the incredible people you get to meet from all over the world, the cultures that come together, and the wisdom that comes through the music about life, and the stories that are told, both through the music and in the band room and on the bus and on the plane and at the airports, and how we share our lives together. It's been incredible. You know, the journey's taken me through so many worlds of both externally and internally. You know, it's been a transformational experience for me to be a musician. I grew up in the industrial area of England from a family of steel workers, and we didn't have many books or records in the house, but somehow music reached into my heart and touched me and took me on this journey. I never had any trouble playing music for hours a day. It was something that gave me great joy and great pleasure, and still does. The music from America had a huge impact on my generation. You might know a few of us. Keith Richards, Mick Jagger. I didn't quite make it as famous as they did. But, you know, the music touched us, especially the working class kids in England. You know, it gave us a dream to think of. And it released something in us, too. It released feelings in us, I think, that were bottled up and that were looking for a place to go. And, you know, I started off like a lot of people in my generation. In the 50s, I was listening to Buddy Holly and Elvis Presley and musicians. But, you know, pretty soon, some good friend of mine took me in their house and they played me Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley. Ray Charles, Lead Belly, and that was the beginning of really starting to understand what this incredible music that came out of the African American culture. I left school when I was 15, and I tried driving a van for a day. Somebody looked at me and said, "You're big, you know, you could be in the police force, you know." So, you know, back then I had this kind of idea of sort of benign Mr. Plod on the corner, you know, guiding the kids across the road and all. So I got down to the police station to see what's going on. And I came back after filling out a few forms, came back home, and I thought, wait a minute, I've been doing some gigs with this little band, you know, and maybe I could be a musician, you know. Because everybody I knew, it was a hobby for them, you know. So I left school when I was 15, because by then my homework was not being done. I was going to gigs, playing clubs, dances. I don't recommend this to all those young folks out there. But music was taking over my life, you know. And I was a bass guitarist, by the way. When I started playing bass guitar when I was 13. I switched from guitar. And I was looking for some inspiration for the bass, you know. So I opened that downbeat one day, and there was a poll in there. And the winner of the poll for the bass was somebody called Ray Brown. Who's Ray Brown? I better check him out, you know. So I went down to the record store and found some records, 2 records of Ray with Oscar Peterson. They're called Night Train, which is all blues, album of all different kinds of blues, and Affinity, with some beautiful arrangements, intricate arrangements. The bass was all in there with the arrangement. It was incredible to hear. I didn't, you know. And then when I was there, I saw 2 albums with a bass player on the front of them. So I thought, wow, that's impressive. I'll check that out. So and it was Leroy Vinegar. And the albums were Leroy Walks. He was walking across the front of the album with his bass. And the other one's called Leroy Walks Again. Well, I took these records home, you know, I put them on my little record player, and I just couldn't believe what I was hearing come out of the speaker, you know. I think the first thing that hit me was the sound. It was something that touched my soul, you know. But, you know, it was also the level of communication in the music. And so it's something I've always loved about the music is the communication, the sharing, the conversation. You heard that here with these wonderful musicians. They're talking to each other, telling the story together. It's something that's been, for me, one of the most wonderful things about being part of this community, is doing that. As I said, it's transformed my life, and I just want to say, you know, that's why it's so important that we make the arts a realistic part of children's education. You know, it shouldn't be, you know, they call it music appreciation sometimes, you know. No, it's not appreciation, it's music. It's education, it's learning. And it should be a part of the experience, you know, not just an option or an afterthought, but something that really is part of what you experience as a young person. Not necessarily with the idea of being a musician, but how it opens your mind up, the parts of your brain that you use, the holistic thoughts, the thinking outside the box, as they say, you know. So many people that have gone on to other things. I've spoken to doctors and lawyers and computer scientists and people, neuroscientists, you know. They're all people that have had experience as musicians as well. It's opened their brains up to ideas and imaginative things. So it's so important. Well, I came to this country almost 50 years ago, it's hard to believe, at the invitation of one of the great musicians, Miles Davis, who heard me in London, and I planned to come to New York, you know, a few months later. This is in 1968. I'd met some musicians in New York, you know, but he heard me in London. I was playing in a band, just playing some standard music, you know, but he somehow gave me that wonderful opportunity. And I remember getting to New York, and some friends of mine who I'd met in London, some American musicians, we were playing, first gig was up in Harlem at the Count Basie Club. Did 3 weeks opposite the Max Roach Band. And some musicians came in the club, you know, they didn't know I was going to be in the band. And they, you know, met me in London. They said, damn, I saw you up there. How did that happen? You know, I said, I can't explain it either. I don't know. You know? Anyway, I came as an immigrant. You know, it's so important we have this free flow of cultural ideas and cultures and people throughout the world. You know, we need to build a world community. And this music can do that. It's touched people all over the world, this music. Everywhere you go, there's people that love this music, have been touched by it. Today I had a great privilege of being invited, along with the other honorees, to go to the National Museum of African American Cultural Life and history, of course. And it was very moving. It was an incredible experience. Amazing place. But it was also very inspiring because it made me think how, out of a situation of great repression, great tragedy, that can emerge the energy that produced this music and produced the ideas that came out of that community. I think that's why this sort of kind of polarized and divisive time in the world, we need the positive energy of this music that embodies the freedom of expression, freedom of thought, and as an example how we can work together in the spirit of cooperation and inclusion and respect for one another, and represents the best of who we are as human beings. Yeah, thank you. I want to thank the NEA for this great honor, and I really truly feel it is, joining the ranks of such an amazing group of people. I'm lucky to have some extraordinary musicians in my life that have helped me along the way. You know, this is a community, as has been said before. And we share this music together. We grow together. The music moves together by the efforts of us all and how we put this music together. But we also have other people behind the scenes. And I've had two women in my life that have been extraordinarily helpful and supportive to me. One of them's here tonight, my daughter, Louise. Louise. Thank you. She's become a champion of the music and fights hard for the people that she cares about and has helped me so much. And I have to say is one of the reasons I'm standing here today, for the help that she's given me. And before her was my late wife, Claire, who many of you may have met. She was an amazing woman, stood beside me through difficult times and great times. Took the hat around in the pubs in London. And she knew about this music before I did. Her mother took her to Duke Ellington concerts when she was 5. They'd go backstage. She met Louis Armstrong, you know, and they were one of the families like we often meet on the road that would invite musicians back to their house for a drink after the gig. And she remembers Jimmy Hamilton being in the living room and playing the clarinet and so on. I didn't even know what jazz was back then. So she knew the life. And I was lucky enough to meet her. And I want to thank her today. Thank you.
Please welcome back to the stage, Jason Moran.
In just a few minutes, we'll hear some of Dr. Lonnie Smith's music, featuring a performance by the one and only Booker T. Jones, and we'll showcase Dr. Lonnie's commitment to the next generation of musicians with an opening piece played by his protege, Matthew Whitaker, who's celebrating his 16th birthday today. Dr. Lonnie has always been about the groove that is rooted deep in the ground, but also is in the stardust that circles Saturn. He uses the organ to move between these spaces, and when he plays, he can determine when and if he wants to transport us into the ground or up to the stars. In college, I went to the Village Vanguard to hear Dr. Lonnie perform, and he was playing with Lou Donaldson and Idris Muhammad. And I bootlegged that concert. And afterwards, I went home and I played those recordings over and over just to hear how Lonnie kept transporting us with his organ. And Dr. Lonnie and I would run into each other on the road, and it was always an honor to play and to talk music with him, because he's a musician who continues to inspire us both to be the root and the stardust. He is the master navigator, Dr. Lonnie Smith.
I remember the first song I ever touched on the piano. It was a song called Crying in the Chapel. F sharp. I didn't know it was F sharp. I picked the melody out. My mother had never heard me touch anything. I was a little kid. And I play by ear. And still today I play by ear. Most guys start when they were kids, you know. I started playing the Hammond B3, I was around 21. Everyone has angels. Art Kabir's music store. I sit in the store every day. And one day I went in there, he closed the place up. We went to his house in the back. When he opened the door, that's where it hit me in the organ. I was sitting behind it. He says, "If you can get this out, it's yours." I did. In the snow in Buffalo, you know, it was cold. So how I learned how to play was on stage. I got with the Sammy Bryan group, and we started playing behind a lot of Motown groups when they would come through. It was hard, but I did it. George Benson and I, musically, we speak the same language. When George called me, I went to his mom's house in Pittsburgh, learned 2 songs, Clockwise and Secret Love. That was it. We got signed with Columbia Records. I got to New York around 63 or 64, somewhere around there. It's like everyone was there. Everyone that you ever thought you wanted to hear or see, they were playing. Lou Donaldson was recording. I went to record. The connection was so great. Right from the beginning, felt so good. And we made a hit. When Blue Note heard that, they wanted me from Columbia. My first album with Blue Note was Think, and the record took off. 45 years later, I'm back with Blue Note, and it's like I never left. It's hard for me to play it straight the way it's supposed to go. It's gonna be changed when I play it. My hat's off to the musicians that play with me, because I don't never know where I'm going. The music becomes mine now. It's mine, that's where I hear it. That's where I paint that picture. The organ is an extension of me, myself. It says everything that I want to say that I cannot say. You can feel the vibration of it. It's so, it just goes all through your body. The earth, the whole heavens just opens up on you. And I get so much enjoyment out of that. You can't get paid better than that. Music heals the soul.
Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Whitaker, Nate Smith, and Mike Moreno. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Booker T. Jones and Donald Harrison and James Genus. Ladies and gentlemen, 2017 NEA Jazz Master, Dr. Lonnie Smith.
I could say so much. We only have a little time. So we say it through our music. Thanks from my heart to the NEA for their oncoming contributions, oncoming and ongoing, which never stops. Never stops. I'm very humbled, very proud to receive this award. And I would like to say one thing that a lot of people don't know, that the music that we do it from our heart, and we did not chose to play music. It chose us. Thank you. And the reason I say this is because, do you realize that constantly, every day of our life, we have to look for work? So you never hear us once complain about any of those things. We just take it just the way it is. And thus, we go on the road, travel for many miles, and many miles, and many miles. Sometimes you don't get any rest, you don't even get money, you don't get food, and you cannot buy a house. You do not have any insurance, like many people, but we still do the things that we love, that we do for passion, we have a passion for. And you cannot change that. We will keep doing it regardless till we can't do it anymore. In my heart, for years I've been speaking this constantly, but one day I would love to see this happen. In my heart, I play with many musicians. When they play and they get older. As they get older, they still play. Armature gets weak and everything gets out of tune, but they cannot walk, but they go up there and play anyway. And imagine having a place for the musicians to live. They're free of living, and you have a place for the students, which will help pay for their living. Not only that, you have lawyers and doctors, and you can have internships. Let them come over and help with these musicians. Now they are old, but they still continue to play. We are on the road sometimes like, I don't know, but the thing about it is that we will keep doing it. And the journey we're not finished. Could you imagine every day we can teach, even though you can't travel, but you can teach. See, we don't see each other sometimes for years. We might see each other sometime 5, 10 years, 30 years, 40 years, we run into each other, and that's a blessing. So we talk about old times. I have this new record I'm working on. It's called The Days of Old, were the days of gold. And you remember those wonderful times. Like just a couple of weeks ago, Dee and I were in Indonesia. She was so excited about this NEA, and we were talking, and we were so happy and glad. So we can't wait to get back. And what happened? I go to see her or hear her. She wasn't there. She had to go to the hospital. She fell and hurt her ankle, her leg. So she couldn't appear, she couldn't play. But this just happened now, within a couple of weeks. And she's here, regardless. You can't beat that. You cannot beat that. So, what a way to have the rest of your life with the family that we grew up with. The music. The music is something that's with a lot of passion, so the man, the myth, and the music, and the journey. Did you hear the music you've been listening to? It's like, thank you. It's like if, excuse me, if everyone could play music, you would see how it feels. Because there's no time for fighting and arguing. Only thing you want to do is play music and make love, life out of music. Music, 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 music. And through those years, when I first started, I started in my 20s. And I had children, which are here tonight. Let's give them a nice round of applause. My children and grandkids. And when you're in this kind of business, you travel all the time. You don't get a chance to be with your family the way you want to all the time. They only see you when you come back home. They sometimes don't even know who you are, you know. But they have stuck with me through all of this. And it's like I keep apologizing for what I did. I went on that road. I love you too. And it's so beautiful that they do understand our passion for the world which we were taken in. So imagine this world playing music and you seeing your friends and you teaching. What a way to go. Talking to your friends, it's okay, it's all right. When you get 80, 90, 100 years old and you can't play anymore, it's okay, because you're with your family. You can't beat that. So the myth, the man, the music, you can see it and hear them when they move around and play. That keeps them going. If everyone could just feel that, you rise above everything, everything. See, there's no room for argument and fights and war, because the music is healing. All around the world, they go to all those different countries. They can't speak English or anything, it's okay. But when you play that note, you're telling them your story, and they understand that. So, thank you. So through that, I'm saying that we all have angels, every one of us. And I would like to say we taking that step because they guide us on to that beautiful journey. And you cannot beat that journey. If you could just feel what we got to give, nothing but love. So I'd like to thank again the NEA for everything they're doing for not only us, the world. They're giving something to us all. Joy and peace. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, three-time Grammy winner, Terri Lyne Carrington.
I'll correct my name. It's Terri Lyne Carrington. That's okay. In a moment, we will welcome my dear and close friend, Grammy Award winner Dianne Reeves, as she salutes the great Dee Dee Bridgewater with her own lyrics to a beloved jazz standard, and confirming that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Dee Dee's daughter, China Moses, will present a selection from her mother's Grammy Award-winning tribute album to the late, great Ella Fitzgerald, whose centennial birthday we're celebrating this month. I first met Dee Dee nearly 40 years ago when I was a little girl, and I told her then that I wanted to play with her when I grew up. And we've worked together countless times since. We can all see how talented and dynamic she is on stage and off stage. That's obvious, but it is her humanity and her generosity and her compassion that makes her such a great artist. I've experienced it personally and have witnessed her in action with others. So thank you, Dee Dee, for all that you give and all that you do in moving the music forward, and for your commitment to mentoring the next generation. Yes. Dee Dee's mentoring is exemplified by using her recording label to showcase the talent of two of the artists performing in her honor tonight, drummer Kassa Overall and trumpeter Theo Croker. Now, in her own words, let's learn more about 2017 NEA Jazz Master Dee Dee Bridgewater.
Swinging low, bye, bye, blackbird. My mom loved jazz singers, so when I was a baby, she swore that I could scat before I could speak. By the time I was like 10 months, I would stand on the side of my crib and hold the rail and try to scat with Ella Fitzgerald. I remember telling my mom and dad when I was 7 years old, when I grow up, I'm going to be a well-respected, internationally known jazz singer. Will make my bed and Cecil Bridgewater, my first husband, we had just married in 1970. We moved to New York City. He was hired into the Thad Jones Mel Lewis Orchestra. After about 6 months of Cecil's being in the band, Thad and Mel decided that they needed a female singer. And I auditioned, and I think I sang Bye Bye Blackbird and Fly Me to the Moon. And I got hired. Thad Jones was my world. Everything that I know about music, I learned from Thad Jones, and I learned from being in that band. I loved acting. I grew up on all of that musical films of the 30s and the 40s. And my dream was to come down some big winding staircase with all the gorgeous men on either side, break into some dance and song number at the bottom of the stairwell. I auditioned for this new Broadway musical called The Wiz. I played Glinda the Good Witch of the South, and that is what I won my Tony Award with. I was acting more at the time that I made the move to France. I had gone to Paris with Sophisticated Ladies, and when we got to France, I was on these big billboards and stuff. I was able to be this celebrity. So I decided to stay when the show ended. And I was able to work as a singer. While I was living in France, I began hosting NPR's Jazz Hit. And that lasted for 13 years, 13 wonderful years. They were 13 of the best years I ever had. I was really proud of Jazz Set. I went to Mali for the first time in 2004. I saw all of this red earth. And I go, I know I'm home. I know it. Red Earth, a Malian journey that I did that came out in 2007 or 2008. I picked the songs that I wanted to do. And then we all worked it out. We just worked it out. And it was quite an ambitious project, but I was the gap bridger. I could understand the rhythms, the West African rhythms, and I could hear how it flowed into the jazz thing. I'm really fortunate. I'm 66, and I still have demand. It's how I know that I'm on the right path. I may not know why I've done something, but I just follow my spirit. I've learned to do that now. I've learned to just walk in faith.
I'll make my bed, then light the light. I don't think I'm coming home tonight. Blackbird, bye, bye. Skidoo-ya-dum-doo-dum-bong.
Please welcome Dianne Reeves, Kassa Overall, Theo, Croker, and Peter Martin.
I wish you bluebirds in the spring to give your heart a song to sing, a life of bliss more than this. I wish you love. And in July, your own parade to celebrate that you're self-made. I wish you health. I wish you wealth. I wish you love. friends, and I agree that you are jazz royalty. So with my heart and all my love, I wish you peace and light, prosperity, the joy of living bold and free. May all your dreams come true. Oh, I wish you shelter from a storm, a cozy fire to keep you warm. But more than this, when trouble calls, I wish you strength. You
Ladies and gentlemen, China Moses.
I've been sitting on the fence, and it doesn't make much sense, 'cause you keep me in suspense, and you know it. Then you promise to return. When you don't, I really learn. Well, I guess I'll never learn, and I show it. Mom, this one is for you. First you say you do, and then you don't. Then you say you will, and then you won't. Undecided now, so what are you gonna? So what are you gonna do? Now you wanna play, and then there's no. When you say you'll stay, that's when you go. Undecided now, so what are you gonna? So what are you gonna do? I've been sitting on the fence, and that doesn't make no sense, 'cause you keep me in suspense, and you know it. Then you promise to return, when you don't, I really burn. I guess I'll never learn, and I show it. If you got a howl and if you're kind, don't keep us apart, make up your mind. You're undecided now, so what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You do, and then you don't. Then you say you will, and then you won't. You're undecided now. What are we gonna do? Now you wanna play, and then it's no, and then you say you'll stay. That's when you go. You're undecided now. What are we gonna do? I've been sitting on the fence. It doesn't make much sense. You keep me in suspense, you know it. Then you promise to return. When you don't, I really burn. I guess I'll never learn. I show it. If you got a howl and if you're kind, please don't keep fussing about me. Up your mind, you're undecided now. What are we gonna do? And if you're kind, ooh, don't keep us apart, make up your mind. You're undecided now, so what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So what are we gonna do?
Jazz Master Dee Bridgewater.
Thank you. Woo. Lord have mercy. Good evening, everyone. Has this been a blessed evening? It has been nothing short of extraordinary. I would like to, first of all, tell the teleprompter person I'm not going to do this speech. Can it? I forgot about the film, and everything I was going to say, I said already. But I would just like to say to my fellow honorees, to Ira through Fitz, to Dick Hyman, to Dave Holland, and to Dr. Lonnie Smith, I am so, so honored to be with you this year in 2017 and share this amazing honor. Gentlemen, thank you. I lost my mother on March 1st of this year. On March 3rd, I fell down some stairs, as Dr. Lonnie Smith told you. I have a fractured tibia, I've got a metal plate, I've got screws in my knee. I had a ruptured Achilles tendon, and I'm gonna be this way for a little while, so you all better get used to seeing me like this. But it doesn't mean I can't move. God is good all the time, all the time. God has blessed me in so many ways. I have always sung. All my life I have sung. I have always thought everybody could sing because I could just open my mouth and I could sing. I thought, well, everybody does this. But by the time I was about 7 years old, and my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, Rhonda, was 5, we were singing one day, and she was singing some different kinds of notes. And I was like, Rhonda, that's not it. And she was, yes, it is. And that's when it kind of dawned on me that, oh, maybe everyone can't sing. I don't want to bore you with all of the things that I went through coming up. What I want to share with you is that I have been so blessed throughout my life, through the down periods of my life, through the highlights of my life, that I've had music. Music has healed me in so many moments in my life. Music has allowed me to persevere. Music has allowed me to be on this stage with you this evening. And I just can't say how much music means to me, and therefore how much I try to help it mean to others. It gives me a joy that is inexplicable. I get on a stage with musicians and I will take them on a trip, and by the end they don't know what's happened, and neither do I. But it's been a joyful noise that was made, and we have shared it with audiences all over the world, and I know it's worked because I see people smiling when I look into the audience, or people will stand at the end, and I say, well, I guess we did okay. So I want to say thank you to the NEA for this honor. It was a shock when I was told, because all my life I've just been a hard worker. People call me the hardest working woman in jazz. I modeled myself after James Brown, baby. But something happened when I moved to New York City with Cecil, and I joined the Thad Jones and Mel Lewis Orchestra, and I shared 4 years at the Village Vanguard. I didn't go to church on Sunday. I went to the Vanguard on Monday, okay? And I would bring my oldest daughter, my firstborn, down to that club because Cecil and I, because we were a couple in the band, we didn't get $20 each. We got $30. We came at a bargain. So I didn't have money to pay for a babysitter, so the coat check lady would keep my daughter, to Lonnie, in the coat check room while I'd sing. And you fast forward, and here we are today. I never, ever imagined I would be in front of you accepting this honor. All I can say is I've always tried to be honest. I've always tried to be giving. I have always tried to respect. I respect musicians. I wanted to be a musician. When I was about 12 years old, I went to my father and I said, Daddy, I want to take piano. And my daddy said to me, girls don't play piano, girls sing. I said, okay. I guess I'll keep singing. You see, my father came from a generation where there were rules and regulations, and we thought a certain way. My mother did not want me to sing the blues, and so I rarely did until I moved to Paris. And I was across the water, so she didn't hear me. And I have just finished recording with my award money from the NEA. Thank you very much. I had to add a little bit of my own money too, but I just finished recording an album that is a blues album. It's going to be my first blues album, and it's an album that I recorded in Memphis, Tennessee, where I was born, because I have decided I'm at a point in my life where I need to understand completely the whys, the hows, all the reasons that have made me be the person that I am today. And even though we spent only 3.5 years in Memphis, Tennessee, that is in my blood. That city is in my blood. That food is in my blood. That music is in my blood. When I was a teenager, I found a radio station out of Memphis. I was in Flint, Michigan now. I found this radio station. It's called WDIA. And baby, it came on at around 11 o'clock at night, or at least that's when I could get it. It was still a little The first song I heard the first time I found this station was Given Up by Gladys Knight and the Pips. And that rocked my world. And then I heard Bobby Blue Bland. And then I heard me some BB. Now God is really good because BB and I became friends during my career and while he was here on this earth. Anytime I would see BB King, he would invite me on the stage and we would do a number together. And I would love to throw my legs up and get all funky and get all down in that blues, baby. So I had to go there. So that's my next project. But I just say that because I've had a winding musical road, if any of you know my music. I've done all different styles of music. Every album I do is an album that I want to do because that particular music spoke to me at that particular time. Miles Davis was my hero. I used to go up on 77th Street and stand across the street from his brownstone, just knowing that one day he was going to open up them curtains and he was going to look out and he was going to see this little chocolate girl standing out there across the street. He never did. But I met him. He used to come down to the Village Vanguard to hear me sing. And every time he'd come, he'd send a waiter back into the kitchen, because at the Village Vanguard there is no dressing room, there's just a kitchen. And so I'd be back there and he'd say, Miles Davis is here, and I'd go, and I would go out very timidly and he'd say, hey baby, I came down here to check you out. And I go, yes, Mr. Davis, yes, Mr. Davis. Don't call me Mr. Davis. I'd be, yes, Mr. Davis, no, Mr. Davis. Because I never knew what to say to him. And if you fast forward, it was in when was that, Talani, that we played in Nice? 96, 95. You don't know. We don't know. In the early 90s. We shared the same stage. And I went on, of course, I went on before Miles at the Nice Jazz Festival. And then my daughter, I call her my Donager because my daughter Talani does my management. She and I decided we would stay because she was with me, because I'd had an accident then. It was 91. It was 91. I'd ruptured my left Achilles tendon. That's right. Anyway, we stayed for that show, and when Miles finished and he came off after he was trying to flirt with my daughter, and I'm eyeing him menacingly, he comes over to me and he says, Bridgewater, we need to make an album together. I was like, absolutely, absolutely. But then he got sick, and then that never happened. I've had a lot of opportunities like that. I worked with Dizzy Gillespie. He wanted us to record together. He wanted to be in my band. And then he got sick, and then he died. I worked with Ray Charles. You don't know that. I did a duet with Ray Charles in France that was a very huge hit called Precious Thing. And I worked with Ray Charles in Europe for 2 years. We did television shows all over Europe. We did concerts together. And Ray shared wonderful, wonderful advice with me. Always a gentleman, although he does have hands. There were many times I would get into our limousine. He would be in the limo first. I would slide in thinking I'm going to be on my side, and he would be on my side. And as I would slide in, there would go the hand on the thigh, and then I would be, Mr. Charles, please. And he'd be like, oh, Dee Dee, please, Mr. Charles. I'd get him to behave. I've had beautiful experiences. Because this is a man's world. But it would be nothing without a woman or a girl. I am the 19th female recipient of the NEA Jazz Masters Award. Standing on the shoulders of the women who have come before me. I could not be here before you if it had not been for Bessie Smith, for Big Mama Thornton, for Ella Fitzgerald, for Billie Holiday, for Nina Simone, for Tina Turner. I'm telling you, for Aretha Franklin, for all the sisters that have given us love and whose love I have received. I would not be here today. I would not. So all I can do is be grateful, be humble, and try and reciprocate by giving the love that these women have given to me. Nancy Wilson, that these women have given to me, and turn and give it to the younger women who are coming up. We need to nurture our youth. Theo Croker is a wonderful talent, and we've been working together for I don't even know how many years now. But when I met that little man in Shanghai, I was like, and 2 years later, I convinced him to come back to the States. I produced his first record from coming back to the States, which is called Afrophysicist. I hired his band because my daughter Lonnie and I could not find a booking agent for him. So I told my musicians, gentlemen, I love you, we've had a long run, but I got a baby to take care of. And they understood. I gave them 6 months notice now, but they understood. And we worked together occasionally, but I took Theo on the road so I could expose Theo and his band to people around the world. I took my children on the road, my poor babies. You know, when I was doing theater, when I did The Wiz, that was a life changer. The Wiz, my dress is at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Yes, it is. Oh, yes. I'm saying all of this and sharing all of this to say to you all, dreams do come true. My dreams have come true. Dreams that I didn't even think about have happened in my life. And all I want to do is give other people the opportunity to dream. And all I want to do is to say to all of you, because of an organization like the National Endowment for the Arts, they have provided the possibility for artists to dream and to share their art and their creativity with people all around these United States and all around the globe. That's something. It's something to protect. As Dave said, we're in a polarized world right now. So we have to use our voices and we have to stand up for the things that we believe in. And I believe that all of you that are here tonight would not be here if you did not have a love of and a joy for music. So the arts are important. We must protect these arts. We must not allow this to go away. I was proud to be part of the National Public Radio family for the 13 years that I did Jazz Set with the wonderful woman who produced it, who had that vision, Becca Pulliam, who's here tonight. A lot of the funding that we had for that show came from the NEA. A lot of it came from the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation as well. And then a lot of it came from donors. So it's because of you, it's because of all of us and all of our love for this music, for art in general, whether it be music or painting or sculpting or whatever. It is up to us to keep this going and to keep it lifted up because our children need it, our grandchildren need it, we need it. We cannot let ourselves be ruled by hypocrisy and lies. We cannot. So thank you. I want to say a special thank you to Kevin Struthers, with whom I have been friends now for many years, and to the wonderful staff here at the Kennedy Center. And I want to say a special thank you to Dianne Reeves for reimagining I Wish You Love. And I want to say a thank you to my daughter, China. China is not a jazz singer. I don't know why she came out here and did that song. She did it good. I was expecting China when I found out that China was going to be here. I thought China was going to do some of her stuff, because I groove to my baby stuff. But she came out here and did Undecided. Thank you, baby. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of the musicians who graced the stage this evening to honor the five of us. We were overjoyed. And I thank you once again. And I just want you all to know I am forever grateful for this award, for people coming and being at my shows, for the love that I always feel when I walk out onto a stage. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. I leave you now. I'm going to crutch sexily off the stage.